Good evening. I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Hammond Capital Improvement Board for Monday, May 15th. Please rise with me and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear Lord.
Can I get a roll call, please?
Moore.
Here.
Yuta.
Here.
Prieto. Spitali.
Here.
Tyler. Warple.
No. Here.
Button.
Here, let the record reflect, you get this right? 6 present, 5 in chambers, 1 on video, and 1 absent. Next item on the agenda is the consideration of the past meeting minutes. Board members, you should have received in your packet a copy of the meeting minutes for April 17th, 2023. Is there a motion to approve?
Mr. President, I will make a motion to approve.
Thank you. Commissioner Muta, is there a second? Second. Seconded by Councilman Spitali. Been moved and properly seconded to review, approve the minutes of the meeting of April 17th. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Roll call on the motion.
Moore.
Yes.
Yuta.
Yes.
Prieto. Spitali.
Yes.
Tyler. Yes. Warple.
Yes.
Button.
Yes, motion carries 6 in favor and 1 absent. Next item is item 5, report on the work study session. Immediately prior to this meeting, the board met to review the current action items for this evening. Any other discussion on the work study? Item 6 is funding. The report on funding, Commissioner Moore?
Mr. President, I have no update at this time.
Update, thank you for your report. Next item is number 7, matter from mayor, council, and other departments. Anyone wishing to address the board? Seeing none, is item 8 is old business. Any old business for this board? Seeing none, item 9 is new business. Item 9A is a funding allocation for the Marquette Greenway Trail Kennedy Decline Supplemental Engineering Plant Survey in the amount of $36,900. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner Moore. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Muta. Been moved and properly seconded to approve the funding allocation for $36,900 for the Marquette Greenway Trail design. Is there any discussion?
Mr. President,
Yes, Councilman Warple.
is this actually going on Kennedy Avenue? Whatever this is?
It's the Marquette Greenway between Kennedy and Klein, so it's the area that's north of the Indiana Toll Road, south of the Grand Calumet River, near the Resco property, the Resco business.
It's off of Michigan then, right?
It's north of Michigan, north of the South Shore Line, north of the toll road. There's a nature preserve back there, and the Marquette Greenway Trail, which is the visionary trail that connects Illinois to Michigan through Indiana, is going through that segment. So the city has a design and a federally funded project to construct a bicycle trail through the Shirley Hines and Nature Conservancy property in that area, and that's what this encompasses.
Dave, would that be where the old drive-in theater was, over there? North of it, north of Michigan?
Where was it? Was that Klein in Michigan on the northwest corner?
I just was curious, that's all. Just wanted to know where it was.
I didn't know there was a drive-in theater.
There was a
there.
drive-in theater around there.
That's what it was. Excellent.
Takes us old people to remember that.
Thank you for your clarity. Any other discussion? Any other discussion? Roll call on the motion.
Moore.
Yes.
Yuta.
Yes.
Prieto. Spitali.
Yes.
Tyler. Yes. Warple.
Yes.
Button.
Yes, motion carries 6 present and 1 absent. Next item on the agenda is item B, funding allocation, the 2023 sidewalk program with J&J Newell Concrete Contractors in the amount of $300,000. Is there a motion to approve?
Make a motion.
Thank you, Councilman Spitali. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Muta. It's been moved and properly seconded to approve the $300,000 budget amount for the 2023 sidewalk program. Is there any discussion?
Was it 300,000 used that out of it?
This will be set aside to do the current year program, which amounts to about $50,000 per district. If additional funds become available, then we'll come back to the board and ask for additional funding. Thank you. Any other discussion? Roll call on the motion.
Moore,
Yes.
Muda,
Yes.
Prieto, Spitali, Tyler, Warple,
Yes.
Button.
Yes, motion carries, 6 present and 1 absent. Next item on the agenda is item C, funding allocation 2023 roadway maintenance, pavement preservation, crack sealing in the amount of $300,000. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner Moore. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Muda. It's been moved and properly seconded to approve the budgetary amount for crack sealing in the amount of $300,000. The contractor, I should say, is with Site Services. Is there any discussion?
Mr. President, is that divided up between the districts too?
Yes, sir. It's divided $50,000 equally between the districts. They charge us into a quantity that we can hit it to almost the penny in every district. It's quite phenomenal that we can get that close in every district.
Because how are those assessed?
How are those assessed?
Yeah.
So the engineering department has done it in the past, and we've hired consultants in the past to review every street in the city to determine its current condition. And those conditions include a full rehabilitation, a mill and overlay and a crack ceiling, or do nothing, or, so there's a varying, we call it a PASER study for the entire city. Anything that meets within that high-level criteria falls within the category for crack sealing. We have an itemized list of all of those street segments. We give that to the contractor to roll out.
I guess my question is like, I think I've asked you about my street specifically, just because of the alligatoring on it. That would not be under the crack sealing. That's something that's got to be repaved eventually, correct? Right. And you would go like, say, where like 173rd was done 5 years ago and there's cracks. That's more or less what, it's
Right.
not for the streets that are in bad shape.
It's not for like Highland was done out here. It's not for 165th east of Kennedy, where it looks like we've poured crack sealing all over the roadway, right? That's not the intent. So as a pavement fails, you'll first start seeing cracks that run across the street, called, as opposed to longitudinal cracks, they would be transverse cracks. They happen about every 40 feet or so. We'll crack seal those as early as we can. That prevents the water from getting down inside the crack and freeze and thawing and causing the pavement to fail early. As that road gets older and because it's essentially flexible pavement, that those cracks develop more periodically. And a condition of alligator cracking is the sign of subgrade failure. So the entire road has failed and cannot, and really should not be crack sealed at that point if it's gone that far.
The reason I ask that is if somebody says, why ain't my street eligible for crack sealing? If it, I'm using my street as the example, but if it was in that type of condition, it's safe to say that it's probably not gonna get crack sealed, correct?
Gone too far, right? So I wanna say a 10 being the best, 1 being the worst in a PASER rating. So you would crack seal at a 7 or 8.
Okay.
You would mill and overlay at a 6 to 7. I'm using the same number, 7. So, but there's a criteria that lists a 4 to 5 is a full depth overlay, a 1 or a 2 is a complete reconstruction. So we've assigned these values to say an 8 gets crack seal. And that's the criteria for selecting.
Thank you.
Mr. President,
Commissioner Muda,
how often do we do the Pacer study?
it's required every 2 years by the state of Indiana in order to qualify for the Community Crossings Program funding.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome. Councilman Tyler.
I don't think this also qualifies for crack sealing, but I just got a phone call about 167th. I know that, of course, some street borders, my district and Councilman Wolf's district, we talked about repaving that several times, maybe even needing a complete reconstruction. But I know that there are some pretty serious cracks and pretty serious issues with that street, and not sure, once again, if it's eligible for crack sealing or some other type of temporary patching until we're able to figure out the money situation for that. Just wanted to bring that up, if it does qualify for crack sealing, if not, if there's something else in the budget. Thank you.
Thank you. At this stage, we need to refer that to the Public Works Department. But the intent was that mid to late next year, we would resurface that street based upon the work that's going to be done at the YMCA and its condition, right? But that we do have some complexities over there with the cemetery being nearby. There's some concerns about where the grave perimeters are, and so we need to be really careful about whether we do a full reconstruction or whether we just simply overlay the road again, or do a full depth overlay in certain cases to resolve that. But the intent would be to, in the 2024 calendar year, to get that work done for you.
Mr. President,
I'm sorry, one second. Did you get all that, Councilman Tyler?
Yeah, and I appreciate that. Like I said, I knew it was coming up again, and we were gonna have to figure it out, timing, and how we're gonna pay for it. But like I said, if there's anything that, and it sounds like people refer to Public Works to figure out what they might be able to do in the meantime. Because I know I get a lot of calls from residents, and last week I got a phone call from the owner or the manager of the cemetery, because he's having an issue with some of his vehicles that are going and coming and going to the cemetery to travel down 167. So we'll bring that to your attention.
Thank you. Yep, it's on our radar.
he answered my question because that's the same guy that called me, the cemetery manager.
Yep. So the intent is to have it on next year's program. Hopefully funding available for that. Thank you. Any other discussion?
Can I ask a question pertaining to that, though? Will the construction be done on the Y by then? Because isn't it the theory not, while something's under construction, not to go ahead and redo the street?
That's my personal preference. We expect that the Y has broken ground and they will start at any time. We know that in the early portion of next year that we need to get the parking lot in with the underground retention that the city is committed to. And so the expectation would be late summer, we could be available to open, and therefore we could do some resurfacing at that point.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? So we are moved and properly seconded for item C, the 2023 roadway maintenance crack ceiling in the amount of $300,000. Can I get a roll call on the motion?
Moore,
Yes.
Muda,
Yes.
Prieto, Spitali,
Yes.
Tyler, Warple,
Yes.
Button.
Yes, motion carries 6 present and 1 absent. Last item on the, not listed on the agenda, the board should have received an additional request after the agenda was approved. It is a funding allocation with AT&T to relocate certain facilities in Rimbach, which is just west of Holman Avenue, in the amount of $35,692.50. This is a quote from AT&T to do the relocation in order to make way for the plaza that the city is designing at the northeast corner of Hammond and Rimbach. And so the chair would entertain a motion to approve a funding allocation with at and T in the amount of $35,692.50. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Councilman Spitali. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Moore. It's been moved and properly seconded to approve funding allocation with at and T to relocate certain at and T facilities on Rimbach in the amount of $35,692.50. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Roll call on the motion.
Moore,
Yes.
Muda,
Yes.
Prieto, Spitali,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Warple,
Yes.
Button.
Yes, motion carries, 6 present and 1 absent. Is there any other new business? Hearing none, we are on to public
None yet.
expression. Anyone in the audience wishing to speak to the Capital Improvement Board? Anyone in the audience wishing to speak? Next, regular meeting scheduled for
Okay,
the
George.
Hammond Capital Improvement Board would
You gotta
be
go.
June the 5th. And if there's nothing else to come before this board, the chair would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Thank you, Commissioner Muta. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Moore. It's been moved and properly second to adjourn this meeting. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. We're adjourned.